Okay, so what's up, everyone? So we're gonna get into it. So I had a girlfriend of mine reach out to me, and she wanted me to come over to just kind of observe her and her husband, but I wasn't able to do that. I wasn't able to make the trip, so they ended up coming over here. And then at the same time, she didn't want to let him know that I was there to, they came over for me to observe them. Um, so it's an interracial couple. She's a white girl, white woman, and he's a black guy. And they're having issues. It seems like when they first got together, things were all good, you know, um, because roles were reversed, right? So she was the breadwinner and she was more so taking care of him. And it's kind of like, um, you know, shit was okay. Like shit was good or whatever. I mean, he was happy. She seemed to be happy, but then certain things changed for them to where, he now has to be the breadwinner because she can't take on, being the breadwinner for personal reasons, okay? Can't say that. So, this has triggered a lot of things within their relationship that they kind of overlook. So the truth is that they really didn't dive deep into each other um, as much as they thought that they did. They more so came together with a common interest. It was more so of a reason. I'm pretty sure love was involved, but it was more so of like a comfort and friendship thing, you know. Um, when it comes to interracial dating, like it may sound heavy, but you have to get straight to the core with someone. So I'm going to give you an example. I've dated a couple of white guys, but I'm going to pick out one. So, um, you know, this guy he was a little timid, and when I helped him get over his timidness, we kind of jumped straight into connecting. I made him feel comfortable because I don't think that he's ever dated a black woman before. And he didn't want to make it seem like he had, he wasn't open and upfront with everything. And at the same time, I really didn't question or pry or ask because I'm just like, well, I mean, if you choose me, if we're doing this, then I mean, I'm thinking that he's okay. I'm thinking that he's comfortable. He was comfortable, but there was a lot of depth to this man. You know, um, and I honestly, I mean, I didn't know. At the same time, I kind of felt this presence of distance, you know, so like a detachment that he had, okay? Um, but I mean, we turned out to be like really good friends. We had a lot of the same interests. Um, I mean, we more so he kept us more so focused on creating together. So, I mean, it was fun. I had a good time. You know, um I mean, I was oblivious. I thought everything was good, you know. But over some time, I began to notice like certain hesitations with certain things. And it had a lot to do with his confidence. I really hate the white and black shit. Like I hate, you know, I really don't like categorizing people based off of their color. You understand what I'm saying? But in reality, in all actuality, everybody is not like me. And these are issues that individuals do kind of struggle with. My thing is that I see individuals as a human being, and I'm gonna tell you, when I'm attracted to somebody, I'm attracted. I don't give a fuck. You could be blue, purple, green, you know. I don't care. So, her and I were talking, and oh wait, let me just finish with this guy before I get into me and her. So, I began to notice like little hesitations, and I would ask myself, I'm just like, why is he holding back? Like, why is he hiding? I noticed sexually he was holding back, and you know, this is the thing. You have to communicate. You have to communicate a lot. You have to communicate everything because interracial relationships are very sensitive. Not only do you two have to like be in it together with each other, because you're going to have to deal with things from the outside world, and I didn't know that, this guy was intimidated, you know, um, by the thought of me being with a black man. And I'm trying to think to myself, I'm just like, why is he fucking worried about that? Like I was crazy about this guy. So I'm just like, oh, he's fucking it up, So you know, but the thing is, there's only so much that you can push and you can try to pry out of a person. He made himself seem like he was very confident, very comfortable, very sure of himself, you know? And so, I'm thinking like I don't have anything to worry about. But I'm wondering, I'm just like, when we're having sex, I'm just like, why is he holding back? You know, and I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to ask him because the topic of sex is very sensitive when it comes to a man. So, it took about a year or two and us being separated, for him when he came back to want to be more open. So, for one, like he's not really the type to eat pussy. Okay? And then on top of that, with him not being with a black woman and then him coming outside of his box for that, he did it, but he was very hesitant, and I could kind of pick up, like I'm like he's not really comfortable, and I'm just like, well, you don't have to do it if you're not really comfortable, but at the same time, deep down inside, he wanted to challenge himself. So, he really wasn't too intimate, like when it came to penetration. Okay, and I'm just like, well, what's up with that? He more so wanted to use toys to penetrate me, and like beer bottles and shit and all that type of stuff. So I'm just like, he's pretty kinky, like that's what it's kind of like I was making up excuses for him in my mind because I mean, I thought that he would communicate if things were off, even though I was feeling that things are off. It's kind of like, he wasn't saying anything. So finally, we got to a point within the relationship to where he was willing to open up a little bit more. So that's when he told me, the idea of, me being with a black man, it just kind of makes his stomach sick. So I was just like, well, are you racist? Like, for real, are you racist? He's just like, I'm not racist, but at the same time, because you are a black woman, and then, what you're probably used to is a lot different from me, So he just, he said, I just kind of feel like there's a lot for me to have to prove, and I'm just like, what? You know, that's pretty deep. You know, like all of this time you've been holding that back. Hold on. Okay, sorry. So what was I saying? This is why I hate being interrupted. So I was talking about a guy, right? So he opened up to me about that situation. And of course, you know, in my mind, you know, I'm just like, how did I overlook? How did I miss this? You know? So, you know, you have to be sensitive and you have to be sincere, of course. So, you know, we kind of just opened up and we had a conversation about it. You know, you see, people need to know who you are as an individual, not categorized as a black woman, a white woman, a Hispanic woman, a black man, a white man. You know, because when you are attracted to someone, regardless of their physical, you know, it's telling you that you are deeper and clearer than what you truly know, right? And so that is what I picked up from him. And I loved his transparency and I loved his honesty, you know. So we had a conversation about that, you know, and I just kind of let him know, you know, you don't have to compete with my past. You don't have to compete with black men. You don't have to compete with anybody. You know, you are here. I choose you. I want you. You could have anybody you want. I could have anybody I want. But who have we chosen? Each other. You know? And the way in which that he was affected, you know, by his thoughts, I actually found it to be pretty beautiful, and that he was able to express that. Later on in the relationship, you know, shit got deeper, you know, and I'm just like, I really wish we would have jumped into shit like this in the beginning, because this would have been a really nice relationship, you know, but you know, there was just, it's like he had to warm up. So once I kind of figured out like his insecurities around certain things, you know, of course I went in to reassure him. But the thought of it consumed him, okay, to the point to where he began to secretly resent me, secretly envy me, because I didn't share the same feeling as him, you know? And so he became intimidated by that, because he would ask me, well, what if I leave you for a white woman? You know, what if I choose a white woman and all this type of stuff? And I told him, I said, well, you're white. Your mother is white. Your sisters, your aunties, they're white. All of your friends are white. Like, you grew up around white folks. You know, you are white. So it's kind of like, that is your comfort zone. I expect that. I mean, the thing that got me the most is, I mean, his mom is white. So it's kind of like, why wouldn't I expect you to date a white woman? Just because you decide that you want to date a black woman, it doesn't mean that, you know, I'm not assuming that you like black women and that now all you want is black women. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not really thinking about that. But when he asked me, that's what I told him. I said, well, your mom is white. You know, if you were to be with a white woman, I would expect that. So he's just like, you wouldn't be hurt by that, or you wouldn't be threatened. And I'm just like, No, like, I really care about you. I really love you. Whatever you want to do, whatever is going to make you happy, I want to see you happy. So I guess he wanted to test my confidence. And so he did it. And who I said I was is who I was, you know? But by this time he had completely messed up the relationship, and then it was just kind of over. It's the way in which that he did things. But I understood his deep insecurities around a lot of things. Okay? So, I mean, this is why I really don't, like, it's not fun dating an insecure man, because he acts, he behaves, he thinks from his insecurities, and so he'll do insecure things, and I knew that's what he was doing. He thought it was over. He thought that he wouldn't want to come back. So with him leaving, and I mean, being with this new woman, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's very insecure. So I'm just like, I know that girl insecure. So especially if she has no problem with him trying to shit on me, shit on his ex. One thing in which that I learned, you got to pay attention and you got to be careful about how people treat their exes, because they're damn sure going to treat you that way, and he damn sure tried it. You understand what I'm saying? So you know but I mean, you know I'm just like, she not a good woman anyway, because, and I didn't say much about it, and I didn't talk shit about it, because I've been that woman too. But when I got out of that relationship and everything kind of backfired on me, and I took time out to reflect, I'm just like, I never want to do this again. I never want to be this kind of woman, because at the end of the day, if you don't know that woman, um and you have this person telling you about somebody else, telling you about this woman or whatever, and you get involved, and then you find out, in all actuality, that man is the problem and it's not the women that he deals with, right? So when it came to this woman, I was just like, she's insecure too, because she needs him to do all of these things, to prove his love to her, you know. And at the same time, he's very insecure because he feels like he has to shit on me in order to do that. So I totally got it. I've been there, done that, And my thing is that I never want to go back to being that woman. That's why I pay very close attention to all sides, because people will play the fucking victim and have you feeling and thinking some kind of way, and have you attacking somebody else, and going against somebody else, getting in shit that's not even your business, and the person end up innocent, so I said never again. So it was a repeated cycle. But I'm gonna get into other details about our relationship. I skipped right to the end, right? So um when it came to kind of creating more closeness and breaking down barriers, because he's a man, you know um I knew sex would be a good way to kind of get him to express, and just kind of open up. And sexual energy exchange is one of the most powerful influences. So I said, you know what I'm going to do during our time of sex? I'm going to start coaching and programming him into comfortability with me. Okay, and I'm going to get personal. Okay, so there were times to where, okay, so when we had sex, I would tell him, I would say, tell me you love this black pussy. I wouldn't say it like that, but You get what I'm saying, right? And so I would say to him, the opposite. I love that white dick, right? So, this actually opened us up and it brought us a little more closer. And it gained, he began to gain more confidence. He began to gain more comfortability. I began to really pull him into, I really began to push him into himself. And I began to balance out his self-love and then him loving me. It sounds manipulating, but it's not manipulation. It's reprogramming. Okay? And like I said, sexual energy is the most influential. So we would do this. We would practice this. Of course, we didn't have a conversation about it or anything like that, but it was just something in which that I began to do, you know. And at first it threw him off, but he jumped into it and he actually ended up liking it, you know. Um and um what else? There were just certain things. I'm very expressive. Okay, I'm very expressive, and I really enjoy intimacy and being close and bonding. So during the times to where we were intimate, I would whisper certain things in his ear. I'm all about the mental stimulation, honey. So, it's just, I would say things like beautiful things to him, just about him being him, and just letting him know how much I really love him and I really care about him. But of course, it was real because that's how I felt. When it came to us dealing with the race of things, that's when, we would incorporate color. Because the thing is that I really didn't want him to be culturally sensitive, because it's like you don't have to be culturally sensitive with me. People can see what's really going on in every culture, and of course people of a certain culture are going to defend their culture. And I mean, you would expect me to be defensive whenever he gave a little bit of his opinion about black people, but I'm gonna tell you, he loved black people. He loved black people. He really did, but at the same time, he dealt with kind of like self-hate, because he ended up opening up to me about, he was a sweet guy. He was a crier, so we would have these very intimate, serious, in-depth conversations. He was deep. He was soul. He had a lot of soul, So, he would open up and he was just like, it's hard for me to just look at you thinking about the history of things, thinking about how sinister things were. And, he's just like, like, does it feel like I'm raping you when we make love and all this type of stuff? And I'm just like, what? No, but of course I had to be sensitive to, the things in which that he was saying. His mind was very deep. He was very deep, very sincere, and I mean, he broke down and he began to tell me, sometimes he said, sometimes looking at you just makes me regret and hate being white, so I'm just like, damn, his issues are deeper than race. He's dealing with self-hate, you know. He is very disturbed by certain things in which that happens with police, and black people. So, he's just doing all of this stuff. He's being consumed by his traumas. I'm glad he's opening up, because I have never, ever, ever heard a white person open up like this before. you know. I mean, I've had certain experience to where they'll open up to me about certain things, but not this deep. But of course, that's because I guess we were together, you know. And he just felt so much remorse, and I'm just like, oh my god, like I can't coach him out of this. I can't pull him out of this. Like I did the best in which that I could with talking to him and constantly reassuring him of some things. But he even began to get mad at me because he's just like, well, you should be, you should be more, and you should be skeptical of me. And I'm just like, should I be skeptical? Like, are you really racist? Like, what's going on? Like, why should I be skeptical of you? I don't understand. You know, you see, the thing is that I wanted to keep him focused on love, and this is why it's so important when it comes to interracial relationships. You know, you have to be in the heart, you have to be in the core, because you see he's getting all in his head now, and now he's thinking about all this stuff, that has been bothering him for years, but he's never really had the opportunity to experience something or someone to help pull these things out of him. So when I begin to notice that he kind of dealt with self-hate, I begin to notice his jealousy and his jealousy characteristics. And it's kind of like he began to develop this ego to where, he didn't want to see me talk to a black man. Like, he tried to set like little traps. He tried to bring a black guy around, and he wanted to see how I was going to respond. But I'm just thinking, I'm just like, well, I mean, okay, well, that's your friend, though. I thought that was your friend. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, that's your friend. You care about him. He care about you. I'm just going to embrace him real quick. I didn't, it's not like I flirted with him. It's not like I didn't even really say anything to him. You know what I'm saying? But he was just using him to try and to test me, and he thought that he had me, and I'm just like, what the fuck did I do to make him think that he had me caught in a lie? Like, his mind just began to just spiral into craziness, because I'm just like, this is really good and I really like this, and you're fucking it up. You're fucking it up with all of these insecurities that you have around me being black and then being with a black man and all this type of stuff. And it's kind of like he wanted me to tell him that I don't like black men. But the thing is that, I mean, I like men. Like I said, you be purple, blue, green, and I didn't want to say things to just appease him, because that's going to give you a temporary fix, but you kind of know that that is not the truth. So I will say this: everybody deals with a form of oppression. Black men deal with the heaviest type of oppression. And with a woman like me, who can see all these things, it's very hard. To be honest, I wanted to tell his ass, you acting like a black man. You know what I'm saying? All these fucking insecurities, and then all this pressure that you're putting on yourself. Like, this is the shit that I'm used to seeing. It's very rare that you find a black man that has what I call black boy joy, which is a happy black man. That's very rare to find, because black men are very oppressed, and the oppression, of course, has a lot to do with the past, the history of the past, and then black people not feeling equal to white people and all this type of stuff, and people breaking down and analyzing certain things. And I mean, a lot of shit is true. A lot of shit is true. But then a lot of it is kind of delusional. It's just like if you learn to see the truth but develop a different perspective, you can find happiness in any situation. Okay, because this guy, he actually had very heavy ancestral ties to Africa, to Egypt. His ancestors, his ancestors are Egyptian. You know, I seen some black folks. I seen some black folks, cause I be seeing the spirits, honey. I'm a psychic medium, so I be seeing shit. So, I mean, that's another thing that fascinated me about him, is because he had connections, like spiritually to, black people, black ancestors and shit. So, I had never experienced that before. So I'm just like, okay, you know. So, and like I said, he had a lot of soul. He was really deep, you know. Um, he dealt with pain. He dealt with pain, like deep pain too, like rooted pain from, like I said, the past and the terrible history of the past. So, I mean, we tried. We tried, I can't really explain the type of oppression that black men deal with, because it's more so having to do with self-esteem. Having to do with self-esteem, not feeling equal, not feeling good enough. But my thing is that everybody is looking for power. Sometimes it seems like one race is upset with another race because of jealousy, because they're in a position of power. So with them being in a position of power, they're able to do this. But then you have this other race. If they were in that position, they would probably be doing the same fucking thing. Like this multi universe, in being a dimensional being, it's kind of like there's so much. This, I tell people, you are a whole universe on the inside, and me myself, I can see the universe in which that people are. I can see people's gifts. I can see people's spirit guides. I can see. So it's kind of like, with all the practice that I've had, because I'm going to tell you, a lot of this shit used to drive me crazy. Like, I thought that there was something wrong with me, but I began to have experiences, and it's kind of like God began to show me things to where it's just like, bitch, you see, you feel, you hear. Stop acting like you don't know the secrets to the universe, because you do. This is going to be your key to everything. So it damn sure was, because and this guy was a door, and opening the door was a universe, a whole universe. Okay, so I just, till this day, I just can't understand it. It's kind of like it just drove him crazy. It drove him crazy. And just like I said, that with dealing with black men in oppression is self-esteem. Well, it's just like, well, with you, it's insecurity, and there's nothing that I could really do with you. I used to date a guy. He was half black and half Puerto Rican. He dealt with a lot of insecurities too. And in a way, this white guy began to remind me of him. And I'm just like, I'm not necessarily willing to do this over again. Like, if you can't be completely honest with me. But the thing is that I apply a lot of pressure to people, not purposefully. I apply a lot of pressure for them to be authentic, you know? And in a way, it's kind of like he just kind of felt like I was too good to be true. And I'm just like, you're basing that off of my skin color. If I was a white woman, you would not be feeling that. You would somewhat expect that. And I'm just like, that's not fair to me, you know? So it just kind of seemed like the more I began to open him up, I think it was too overwhelming. So after a while, like I wasn't willing to cater to his insecurities anymore. It's just like, oh my goodness, we don't even have a relationship. Like, this is counseling. you know it's counseling. And I think that's what just set him off, and he just kind of start going crazy, and he just start behaving a certain way. And then on top of that, you know it's kind of like he wanted me to chase him all the time. And it's just like, I'ma chase you, but don't act up just because, like, don't be a drama king. He was being a drama king. In the beginning it's cool and it's cute, but when it's something in which that somebody's consistently doing, it becomes a job. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. But I loved him, and by this time, the sex was getting really great between us. I worked hard. I worked hard on his ass. I worked hard on it to get to get it where I wanted it. And it just it was too much. He just felt like it was too good to be true, and he ended up sabotaging and then doing what it is in which that he do. So with dealing with my friend, I told her, I said, girl, you dealing with a whole totally different black man, because that brother, it kind of seemed like, well, he's dealing with the same thing that most black men go through when it comes to their money. All men, they want their money. They want their stability. You know what I'm saying? That's their pride. That's their glory. You know what I'm saying? And being able to take care of the family, being able to take care of themselves, being able to take care of the kids, their woman, like, it gives them purpose and, all the manly stuff. So, with this guy, he's having financial issues, and when she was working, everything was okay with her, you know, but he's struggling and he's having a problem, and he's saying, and he's assuming, he's just like, well, I'm a black man. It's harder out here for me. It's harder for me to do this, to do that. You're a white woman. So when you go out here, you could do this or you could do that. And I'm just like, well, shit, she's still a woman, Um, so it ain't all that easy. But with her being a white woman, it is a little more easy, So I had to try to get her to understand that, like, you have to kind of understand where he's coming from, because a little bit, he's kind of speaking the truth. It'll be easier for you to get a job than for him. you know and in the working world, it's kind of like, it's the working field is predominantly masculine, so you would think that she would be discriminated against, but it's kind of like, I mean, no, they would choose her over your ass, first. I mean, so, he's dealing with this, but at the same time, he's not necessarily opening up, and he's not being open with her about his feelings, because it's kind of like he doesn't want to feel like a bitch. You know what I mean? He's probably, well, I mean, he is, he's the type of person to where he is kind of hard on himself. I think that most men are when it comes to being providers and the breadwinners, which is why when it comes to them, when it comes to a man who is a provider, he don't want to deal with too much. He don't want to deal with too much relationship shit. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but I have noticed that. He doesn't want to deal too much with your feelings. He doesn't want to deal he doesn't want to hear you complain. He doesn't want to hear you whine. He wants to hear you being grateful, and he wants to see you happy, because in all actuality, that's what he's really doing it for. And of course for himself. So, you got to have a certain level of independence within yourself when dealing with a provider. You know, she is a little, she's a little emotionally dependent. And when she was working and he wasn't, she was taking care of him. She got more from him. She got more emotional support from him. But I'm just like, well, with the roles being reversed, I mean, you remember what it was like for you being out there in that working world and then taking on everything. And even if you can't necessarily relate, because you might be a little more tolerable, you definitely don't want to demasculate him and start comparing yourself to him. And she did. And that's kind of what began to trigger a lot of the race issues, between them, you know. And it was just kind of disturbing to her because she knew who he was, but she wasn't necessarily expecting him to have certain perceptions about her and then their relationship. But I'm just like, well, the tables have turned now. Like, he's not in a position to where he's free and he can really do what he wants. There are things in which that he's going through within his mind. He doesn't always want to talk about it. He doesn't want you asking him a whole bunch of questions. Like, then on top of that, the brother is a little difficult, and he's difficult because he chooses to be difficult. It seemed like he was a lot stronger mentally and emotionally when she was taking care of everything, and her life was easier dealing with the stress of her life because she had him. Like, it was more balanced that way. So when the roles had to reverse, or they had to switch, it's kind of like she's having a problem with kind of being a little submissive, and at the same time she's a little dependent emotionally. And then when it comes to him, he's stressed. He has to adapt once again to the working world, and I'm pretty sure that he misses his time to where he could do the things in which that he wanted to do. So I really like her because she's not threatened by like other black women. You know what I mean? Because sometimes in interracial couples, like, individuals are kind of intimidated by the other person's race, but she wasn't like that. She's not like that. So, I was really happy that she felt comfortable with opening up to me and allowing me to share some of my experiences with her as well. So, I just, we just kind of had a conversation about everything. After I brought up certain key points, she's kind of sad and she's kind of depressed herself. It's because the situation is not ideal. So she won't go into details with telling me why things had to change, but they had to change. Okay, so it's just kind of, in all actuality, they're trying to adapt to the change. So what is the solution to this problem? Well, for one, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right? She should have been learning from him as a support system. But instead of learning, she was just receiving, you know? On his part, he should have been more, possibly more understanding, okay? So, with him not practicing understanding what she's going through, he's being a giver. So she's the receiver and he is the giver. So now he has to be the receiver of her help, but he doesn't want to because it's fucking with his pride, you know. And he's kind of like, I don't need you to mother me, I don't need you to be on my ass about stuff, I don't always need you catering to me and making me feel like I'm a little ass boy, like I can't do this, I can do this, I'm just having a hard time with adjusting right now, but I'm going to get over it, right? So she's having a hard time, like she's feeling bored, you know, she's kind of missing him throughout the day. She's very heady, you know, she's a very smart woman, very intelligent woman. She's very heady. You know, she tells me during sex, like, she can't lay on her back because if she lays on her back, her mind, she's just going to be thinking about a whole bunch of stuff. So I was just like, boom, you're not present. You know, you should be fully in it and you should be fully engaged. So that kind of tells me that there's a little bit of an issue with connection, you know, when it comes to intimacy. Okay, so it's kind of like um, wanting to establish and develop something deeper, right? So, you know, it's a maturity thing. Um, Not to say that she's immature, because she's not immature, but we'll say sexually mature, okay? Because, you know, she likes to receive oral sex. But, and that's a beautiful thing, right? Because I love oral sex too, but it's just like, it's not really intimate. You really can't connect to your partner. You know what I'm saying? Like, through that way, and then her vice versa, you know. But then it's kind of like she tells me when she's on top, because she likes to be on top because she can focus on something to do. I'm just like, girl, you know, she's heady, you know. So I understand why she likes head, right? It's more relaxing to her. And so, you know, he's kind of like, he's like wanting more from what she explained. You know, he's wanting more involvement, more connection, you know. He wants her to look into his eyes. Like, he needs a lot of assurance sexually that she's into him, because he doesn't necessarily feel like she's into him. It's just like, are you not attracted to me because you don't really look at me, you don't look at me, you don't look into my eyes, you know. So he's applying the pressure, but at the same time, it's not fun sexually, it's not relaxing when you are applying pressure when it comes to sex. You know, if you have so much to, I mean, you can't, well, you can't force her to look at you if it makes her uncomfortable. But I can see how he would feel like she's not really into him. You know, with him out there working and all that type of stuff, like, that man need a stress reliever. But he is not, he's a love maker, you know. She's always on top, you know, but he wants to be in control. He wants to be on top, and he wants to dominate her, It's kind of like he needs that kind of energy. He needs that feeling. He needs that, so he can go out into the world and dominate. He needs to feel like a lion, you know? And it's kind of like she makes him feel like a cub, you know? She did tell me that, his package is kind of sizey, and it's like I said, girl, you so look, I said, does it hurt? She said it hurts when he's on top. That's why she wants control, because he want to pound that thing. I said, the best thing I can tell you is, this might help, but I don't know, because I don't know her body, So I told her, I was just like, look, I think that you should, before you know that he wants to do what he wants to do, but just I told her, I said, start practicing with a toy. You know what I'm saying? Start practicing with a toy, because you have to feel comfortable with you. Like you're uptight. That pussy be tight, girl. You got to, you got to loosen it up. Okay? So, the vagina is a muscle. So I told her, I said, you got to learn how to relax. You got to learn how to trust and learn how to receive. I don't think he's that big to where he's doing damage to her, like vaginal tears and all that type of stuff like that. I think that she's just not used to it. I don't think he's like a 10-incher. You know what I'm saying? I think that she's probably kind of just not used to that size. Okay? So, I said, you have to learn how to relax your muscles. You have to put yourself in a mindset to where, you trust this man. You have to open up your mind. You have to trust him. So I asked her, I said, do you trust him? And she said, yeah, but it's more so of the physical aspect of things. So that's why I suggested that she get some toys and just kind of, begin to just open herself up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll feel more comfortable, because she's a little, to me, what I told her, I said, it kind of sounds like you're a little shy. You guys been together for a while, and you're still kind of shy when it comes to sex. But that's because you haven't been practicing, like, close intimacy throughout the years. You guys had a system, and that system has been working, but now, a little more is needed. Like, that man really needs to feel like a man, and that's the way in which that he needs to be able to pump it up. you know so that's all I could tell her. I was just like, girl, you gotta loosen up that pussy. Point blank, period. And so she's just like, well, when after I have an orgasm with my toys, how am I going to have sex with him? I'm just like, what do you mean? I said, the party is just getting started. So she kind of tells me that her tolerance, she comes easily, right? Which is a beautiful thing. So, but I told her, because I said, it sounds like you need to be able to last with that dick. So, but I told her, I said, get it into your toys, go from there, you know, feel your body, listen to your body, like, get into yourself. It's just you. You don't have to worry about nobody putting pressure on you to look at you, to watch them, to look at them. It's just you. You could just close your eyes and just feel Feel yourself. Feel the pleasure. Feel the different vibrations and the different patterns. I used to be very biased when it came to toys because I'm just like, I don't want my vagina to be trained by a machine, right? You know, you, that's a clear classic case of do not fucking assume, because I'm going to tell you, when I start getting into my toys, my sexual appetite increased, my stamina increased, everything just increased, you know. So and at the same time, it takes about 30 minutes to warm up the vagina. She's kind of like straight to the point. He's kind of like a love maker. So they kind of bump heads in that situation too. So, that's why I say getting into your toys, it will just introduce you, like to a different side of yourself, and you can really explore certain potentials about yourself that you didn't know was there. Trust me, I hate it. I used to be like, no, like I didn't like vibrators. I didn't like them at all. But when I start getting into them, I'm talking about, I got a little collection. I got a little collection now, and I'm proud of my collection. I love it. You know, um, Another thing is that, of course, you could have a little fun with him using the toys, but she told me, well, he actually intervened, and he was just like, he doesn't want to compete with toys, and that's another thing. Like, you're not competing. The real thing is always going to want the real thing. It's always going to crave the real thing unless that individual is practicing celibacy. Okay? So, I mean, I don't know if playing with toys is a part of celibacy or not. I consider myself to be celibate, and I used to masturbate. So, and I used to have my toys. So, I mean, maybe I wasn't practicing celibacy. I don't know. But the thing is, I told her, I said, sometimes before sex, because the vagina takes 30 minutes to warm up. So, you could use your toys to warm up your vagina a little bit. Get it loose, get it wet, expand it a little bit, and see how that goes. I also told her about yoni steaming. Okay, yoni steaming is actually an aphrodisiac. Um, there is herbs that you can use to create aphrodisiac teas. Just to kind of get the hormones pumping. You know, um, the aphrodisiac, the yoni steam though, butterfly tea, butterfly tea. Butterfly tea in itself is an aphrodisiac. I'm trying to tell you. I love butterfly tea, but I cannot drink it. Like at one point in time I was drinking it like every day. And I was just like, oh my goodness, why am I so horny? Like, what is wrong with me? You know? Because I like it. I like to drink it for my skin, my nails, and my hair. It really works. Oh, it's the most beautiful herb. It's the most beautiful herb. So, I'm talking about, it was making me like have crazy desires. You know what I'm saying? Like bondage and submission and all this type of shit, and I'm just like, oh my god, why am I desiring this so much? Stuff like that kind of scares me, like the bondage and all that type of stuff, like being tied up. I don't want to be fucking tied up. I'm not, like, um, so I mean, but through that experience, that's when I realized, I'm just like, oh my god, this tea, it's just, this herb is just crazy. It's definitely a herb for women's health. Okay, so when it comes to the yoni steaming will just give you a different experience with you, because a woman is only, she's really only good, you know, like in bed when she's good with herself, when she's comfortable with herself. So I know, loose women get a bad rep, right? But a lot of men like a woman who's loose because they want a woman to loosen up to be able to lose control. Not all men want to spend their time trying to dig in that thing. They just want to get in there and sometimes take it to Pound Town, right? But in her case, her man is not like that. He just want, but I feel like he's wanting that. He's wanting to elevate sexually in his sexual energy so that he can perform out in the world, and then you don't want him wanting this desire that you're not helping him to fulfill. And then on top of that, he's trying to be faithful to you, but I mean, he has all these women walking around, like dealing with that temptation of things, knowing that he wishes that things were different at home, sexually. So, but my thing is the yoni steaming, because the yoni steaming is going to help you really get into appreciating your vagina, becoming more in tune with your vagina. Everything in which that I've told you, it's just from there. I told her, I said, just try it. Just try it. And even if you are not into it, challenge yourself to practice. Challenge yourself to practice. I think she's kind of prideful too. She wants to be accepted exactly for who she is. But I mean, if that man is faithful to you and y'all been together for a while, he don't want to hurt you by messing around on you. So it's just like, up it up a little bit, spice it up. Are you wearing, like lingerie, and shit, get a little creative, get some food involved or something like that. Or you know you could put like a skittle in your vagina, so when he goes down there, he's performing, it tastes like a skittle. you know um I don't like going to the store and using their products. I like more natural stuff because that shit be having aftertaste. That shit be nasty as hell, and then it dries your mouth out, you know. Terrible. So, I just kind of gave her a little bit of that advice. It's very important for couples, to kind of stay like sexually active with each other and creating a union to where it's comfortable. Like, my thing is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But this is a situation to where it needs a little tuning. Like I told her, I said, you love him, you in love with him. What's wrong with turning it up a little bit? So she's just like, well, I shouldn't have to change. But I was like, he's not asking you to change. He's asking you to support him just like he supported you. The thing is that he just needs a different type of support than you did. You know? Just kind of come outside of your box a little bit. It's not all about you and what you think and how you think things should be and the way in which that you want it. I told her, I said, you're acting a little intimidated. You're acting intimidated by yourself. You're intimidated to explore a more open and free version of yourself. He sound like a wild man. I said, girl, he Tarzan, so you need to jump in there and you need to be Jane of the jungle. Okay. Because the point is that you love him and he's suffering. He's suffering. It's like a dog who hasn't been neutered, and the dog is not procreating. You know, sex is always on his mind. It's torture. It's suffering. Even when in relationships, when we're mad at our partner, child, what I've learned is sometimes you got to bend over and just let him have at it. And I know that sounds crazy, and I know it sounds uncomfortable. And I know you will say, well, I shouldn't have to do that and all this type of stuff. Strong people understand sacrifice, right? And she's a strong woman. She's just not choosing to be that. And her husband, her man, needs her to be that. Forgiveness is very important in a relationship. Being able to come together intimately, you know, to either start off the forgiveness, or after the forgiveness has taken place, it's very important to seal it back up with the intimacy, with the sex. Okay. You know, that's a hard one for women, because it's kind of like, if we're not in the mood, or if we're mad at our partner, it's, we don't even want to look at them, see them, or whatever. You know, it's like, you know, you'll use sex as a weapon. You don't want any weapons in your union. You know, no weapons, especially when you're dealing with interracial. You know, because then your mind is really going to start spiraling into a very negative place with shit that has nothing to do with your union. You know, stay focused on the person, not the color. All right, so but yeah, you know, I hope that I had helped her. You know, I just gave her the advice. You know, but we'll see. You know, maybe she'll hit me up again, or whatever. Maybe she'll call me, let me know what's going on. But I think I'm very confident, you know, in what I told her. So it's up to her to put it into practice and see what happens. Alright, but we're going to wrap it up there. So until the next time, we'll talk again. Thank you.